Is this thing on? Just kidding. Hi, everybody. My name is Adam Geller. I am so excited to be spending some time with you today. Thanks for taking some time out of your schedules to really pause and reflect and think about this very interesting moment we all find ourselves in. I'm excited to share with you today some of the things I think could be helpful as you work to adjust your coaching practice in the next couple of weeks and maybe even months as we close out the school year. So, before I jump into the content, I wanted to help by setting the stage of who am I? Who is this guy, Adam Geller? Well, I am a former science teacher. I taught in St. Louis, Missouri, taught ninth grade science and eighth grade science. This is actually a picture of me. The monitor surround is fake, but this is a real video clip from my time as a teacher in the classroom. So I did actually record myself as a teacher, and not for the same purposes that we'll be talking about today, but I do understand this from firsthand experience. So after leaving the classroom and doing some other things along the way, in 2011, I started a company to build tools to make video the central part of teacher professional learning to basically bring that process of coaching and feedback and self-reflection online. So that platform is called Edthena. We won't be talking a ton about that today in this session, but there is another session in the summit that you'll be able to access to learn more about Edthena. And then in 2017, gathered together some of the things that we had been learning over the course of many years, working with a variety of different researchers as well as K-12 stakeholders and coaches like yourself, and put that into a book to really answer the question that comes up when people say, yeah, I get it. Video would be a good idea for professional learning, but what does that look like? So we really tried to bring together 12 different strategies about what you can use for video. So we're going to be touching on some of the content from that book today, but it's not really the kind of main point of today's session together. So I want to start with what I'm calling Real Talk Part 1. There's a Part 2 ahead. And I just want to remind us all that whatever comes next is going to feel different. It's going to be hard. It's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to be, importantly, not polished. I mean, let me acknowledge the fact that I'm now sitting at my home office desk in my living room. So this is my living room behind me, and I did do some straightening up so it would look good on camera because I know a lot of people are going to see this, but did I really want to invite everybody into my living room? No. Do you want to invite all of your colleagues into your living spaces? Maybe not. But it's okay to feel uncomfortable and it's okay to acknowledge that this is different and we're all working through it. It's not we don't have to put on, I guess, the face of knowing everything or being in the coach's role to kind of say, well, I've been here before. Well, the reality is for a lot of us, we've not worked from home before, and this whole teaching online thing, which we're going to talk about today, yeah, that's the different, hard, and uncomfortable thing that your teachers are working on right now. So before we get into the content, I want you to think about the idea of being a coach. How do you really think about that idea? How do you identify? Um, when you think of being a coach and an instructional coach, what comes in your mind? How is that the same or different than, when somebody's talking about a sports team and they're saying the coach is helping the field hockey players get the ball into the goal faster? The coach is the person who helps the players do better, right? The instructional coach is the person who helps the teachers do better. Now, that help can come in a lot of different ways. A lot of times we think about the roles of coach can vary from being very tactical to being very kind of philosophical. I'm not necessarily here to tell you what kind of coach you should be, or what particular coaching philosophy you should adopt, or for that matter, even a particular method or stance for coaching, cognitive coaching versus other styles of coaching. I think as we head into this unknown together, I would just really encourage you to reflect on the answer to the question of where do your teachers want you to be? And more importantly, where they need you to be on that spectrum of help. So by that, I mean, they may really like the idea of having you as a thought partner, but right now they may need you to help them with some tactical guidance. And that's okay. Maybe that's what they need right now. Maybe what they need right now is that 30 minutes of time that you're going to spend together to acknowledge that this is a really hard process and they're working through it and there's a lot of emotions. That could be what they need right now, and that could be okay. All right, so real talk part two. I just want to kind of remind us that from my perspective, we're all learning how to teach all over again in real time with challenging new circumstances. So this rapid change is happening. We don't have control over it. I think a lot of times people talk about the value of teacher education, teacher certification is similar to being a doctor. You wouldn't send a doctor into the operating room without being a certified surgeon. Well, that's true with teachers, but the reality is we need to do instruction tomorrow, and we don't have time to go back to school. Not to mention, we're not allowed to go back to school to learn how to do all this online teaching. We just need to do it now, and we need to do it the best that we can. And even with that challenge in front of us, we have the same obligations to the students that we serve, right? Those students expect and should be demanding the tools and skills and knowledge and mindsets that they will need to be having successful, productive lives. We cannot put their lives on hold. We need another generation of scientists to be produced to be able to investigate and find the next vaccine to the next virus that's out there in the future. So education must go forward, even if the school day, as we've previously known it, doesn't look the same anymore. So I would encourage you to reframe what coaching means for this moment. And by that, I mean, you kind of have this identity of who a coach is coming into this process, but how do you really need to think about that changing for this particular moment? And so I really think that we can learn a lot from the researchers and teacher educators out there. And there's this phrase that some colleagues at the University of Michigan utilize that I think really applies to this moment. They talk about their teacher certification program and their future teachers, they call them interns. But they always say that the purpose of their program is to ensure that their interns are well started beginners when they enter the classrooms and are teachers of record. So I really think right now we should be asking the question with so many things changing, so many different ways of teaching that we have to learn new and practice for the first time. As that coach, as that frontline teacher educator who's there to support those teachers, what do they need to be a well-started beginner for teaching online? I think if we focus on the answer to that question, it suddenly takes this from a big, ambiguous, hard, intractable problem down to something that we can actually manage and work with. So I would ask you to think, what about this is truly new, right? Maybe the technology, maybe the format, maybe the structure of the day, maybe how we facilitate student learning, all those things might be new, and what parts of this are adapted. And I suspect that we have to acknowledge that some things are new, but for the things that are adapted, we might be able to use that as leverage to help teachers see that they can adapt things they already know into this new context. It will make it feel like there's less changing and less to do, quite honestly, um, in a time where there's just so much going on and a lot of stress on all of us, of course. So I'm going to encourage you to be what teacher educators would say is practice focused. So I think that a way forward here on being tactical about how to be successful in this role of coach, coaching teachers who are, just like teachers that are in their first days of teaching school as a first year teacher, we have a whole profession in the first days of online school. So let's be practice focused. And by this, I mean, let's find specific pedagogical moves that can be presented in context with content and combined with the appropriate academic language, right? So this is what coaching usually is. I'm just saying, hey, let's do the same thing. Let's be really targeted in our approach, and just you hear me saying that word tactical a bunch. I think being tactical right now and being um, in some ways precise about how we are guiding teachers is going to be really helpful. As a coach, you have some of those extra cycles to think about what the teaching should look like and whether or not it's meeting the standards of what needs to be true for your students. So help transfer some of that knowledge and that extra thinking that you're doing to your teachers with some specificity in the guidance you're offering in the weeks ahead. So some examples that you might be familiar with on the practice-focused kind of mindset is there's a book that was very popular, still is very popular, Teach Like a Champion. It has all these strategies like right is right in there. You can actually think of these as practice-focused skills, right? Each of those things can be implemented in the classroom with the particular the move, if you will, implemented in the classroom, and then you can have a discussion about whether or not those moves were implemented correctly. There's another example. If you're not a fan of Teach Like a Champion, or if you're in need of some language to draw from, I would encourage you to go check out the high leverage practices at TeachingWorks. That's teachingworks.org. This is out of the University of Michigan. For those of you that are especially elementary math teachers, this organization is headed by Deborah Ball. Lots of really um, tactical, practical thinking that's kind of put out there for the public on that page. But what's nice is that those high leverage practices are research based and really answer that question, well, what does a teacher need to be a well-started beginner? So I think those are those skills that they talk about, like leading group work, group discussion, or facilitating student practice, are valuable shared language to have if you don't already have a way of describing what the teaching should look like. Okay, so um, remember that the teaching is going to be very different, right? And yet, in some ways, it's going to be very the same. We still have the same content, we still have the same learning expectations. The extent to which those are going to be modified, we don't know. But we want to keep students on track as best we can. But let's acknowledge that this online learning thing is going to be different, right? So, what is good online learning? I don't necessarily know the answer to that question for you. And unfortunately, I'm not necessarily even in the position to help you define what good is for your teachers and your students. Hopefully, the leaders in your district and your building are helping do that in some respect. What I can help you do is connect that vision for what good online learning is and make sure it comes true. So I think that online learning has a lot of different components. I think there's a lot of questions swirling around right now about what technology are we going to use? Are we going to use video conferencing? Are we going to use learning management systems only? Are we going to do chat rooms? Are we going to, there's so many different things that are happening. So what technology is in use in your district and ensures that the appropriate safety measures are taken, to be quite honest, you need to kind of work with your district on whatever their technology plan is. So based with what you have, what are the expectations for the type of interactions that should be happening within this quote online learning? How often should those interactions be happening, right? Uh, are those interactions with students synchronous, meaning at the same time, or asynchronous, meaning, kind of like email can happen at different times? If you're looking at this and thinking, I'm not sure my district has much of a plan yet for me, or ooh, I could use a little more guidance or outside thinking on this. I would certainly encourage you to do some Googling. But this particular resource put out by the California Department of Education is really helpful. It's very detailed. It's definitely, this is not the gospel for online learning, but what's nice is that there's a lot already written down for you, so you're not having to do all of that thinking starting from zero. Okay, so I think for me, the core questions going forward, helping teachers adjust to the online learning, are those core questions are very similar to if you were supporting them with in-person learning, right? How will the teachers know what success looks like? And how do the teachers know if they were successful, right? This is really fundamentally what uh, being a strong teacher is about, is being able to understand these things. This is what coaches often help teachers articulate and learn to recognize on their own. So, hey, this is where before I was saying some things about the coach role are going to stay the same. This is how it's staying the same. You're just helping them define success in a new context and in a new environment. So, not surprising if you know anything about Edthena, but I'm here to tell you that video is your friend in this process, much in the same way that I recorded this video, or I'm recording it right now. I'm not going to do any editing, so I'm recording it straight to tape, as they say, on a Saturday night, so that you can watch it during the week or maybe on a weeknight. Um, Either way, this is all coming together last minute. The power of video as I record it, and you can watch it later, right? So a video artifact is so helpful and powerful, not only for understanding in-person, in-classroom teaching, but also all of this online teaching. So no matter the type of learning that you're trying to facilitate, get those video artifacts, right? So if you're working with flipped classroom style videos, well, they're already recorded videos. Analyze those videos. If you are working with, um, hold on. Okay, we had a quick technical break because my night light on my computer started turning on. I was worried it was going to start recording the screen in funky colors. Of course, this is right after I said I was going straight to tape, but I guess that's what I get. Anyway, we're back. The rest of it will be smooth sailing, I'm sure, right? Who knows? Okay, so video is your friend. If you're using flipped classroom videos, you've got recorded videos. If you guys are using video conferencing to facilitate group discussions, WebEx, GoToMeeting, Zoom, any of those tools, they also offer online recording. By the way, if your district doesn't yet have a video conferencing software, several of those companies are offering those tools for free right now. And then the last is that I want to remind you it's possible to record your screen. Now, I am using a program that's specifically designed for recording videos. It happens to be called Camtasia. I wouldn't recommend that to your teachers. It's too many buttons to push, right? Not because teachers aren't smart, but because it's just not what they need in this situation. They're teaching and just need to capture that teaching. So examples of apps that can help with whole screen or tab recording or making those flipped classroom videos, check out Screencastify. That is a paid service though. Screencast-O-Matic, also a paid service. And then there's a free option that's available inside of Google Chrome. It's called WebRTC. That's available from the Chrome Web Store, and that will do whole screen as well as tab recording. So any of those are great options for getting a video recorded. I think the key is that people have to feel comfortable and know that they need to record videos. Don't expect them to know. Give them some guidance on how to do it. Whatever your program is, right? Send them the step by step so that they can get those videos recorded. If they can't record the instruction that's happening, how are you going to help them make it better? You can't be in all of these virtual classrooms at all the time. It's just not going to be possible. Just like you can't be in a physical classroom all the time. And there's an even more an urgent need to help all of your teachers and observe all of that instruction. So make sure teachers know how to record the types of instruction that they're going to be facilitating and the learning experiences that they're creating in this new online learning environment. So you're capturing a lot of video. What do you do with that video? Well, the book Evidence of Practice has ideas on how to use that video to structure different types of video-powered professional learning. All the different 12 strategies are actually defined on evidenceofpractice.com. So if you're interested to go get some ideas, head to the website. They're all defined there right on the page for you. So we're going to talk about one of those strategies today. It's called skill building sequence. And the reason I wanted to bring this together for this presentation is that it doesn't require you to do anything at the same time, which I think is really important to start adjusting to, right? The idea that we're going to have to scale how we support the teachers and use these virtual tools, not just to teach the students, but also to support and help the teachers learn as well. So what is a skill building sequence? A skill building sequence, I'm just turning back on my timer here. Realized I turned it off before when I did my lighting adjustment. So skill building sequence, teachers watch and analyze an example video that models a specific skill. They then enact that specific skill in a video of their own and share the footage with a coach. That's you. So some of you might be reading this and be thinking, well, that sounds kind of like a coaching cycle. Well, yeah, it's a type of coaching cycle. It's just a specific way of using video to drive professional learning that enables the teachers to remain in the driver's seat, even as you are being that coach to help them grow and change and adapt right now. So the benefits of a skill building sequence. Teachers are taking control, even though this is highly facilitated. You, as the coach, can personalize and target the work. So you could build out, as a coach, several different kinds of skill building sequences, and based on where teachers are or what their interests are, you might prioritize sequence 1 versus sequence 2 with different teachers and let them pick which ones they might be interested in. And the third, from a kind of connecting this to the underlying research perspective, you have the ability to explicitly connect a model to the implementation. So not only is that valuable for the process of the teacher learning the new skill and trying to understand what the teaching should look like, but it also offers you the opportunity to compare the outputted artifact from the teacher to the model. Right, so it's not just the video that the teacher produces compared to some nebulous, undefined vision for what it looks like. It's actually able to be compared side by side, and you can have a concrete discussion about what the similarities and differences are between the model that you provide and the implementation that the teacher actually carries out. From a planning perspective here on total time, 1 or more weeks, especially right now, so much is going on. Emphasis on the more. Okay, so from the planning side, you're going to need to select a video of a targeted skill. You're going to design a facilitated analysis of that skill, right? You're not just going to give them the video and say good luck, or watch it and tell me what you think. You're going to tell them what they're looking for, right? And help guide them in that independent learning. And then you need to share these videos with the teacher so that they can start the learning process. On the teacher's side, and how should they plan their time for this type of learning, right? So if you send them, a 10-minute video, they should plan to spend 1.5x the total runtime of that video. So they should plan to analyze that video for at least 15 minutes, right? They're not just watching it, they're watching, they're thinking, they're processing, right? Okay, then they're going to implement whatever it is And that resultant video should be, I put here 5 to 10 minutes. People often ask me, what's the ideal length of video? And I often say no longer than 12 minutes. Whatever it is, you can capture 90 minutes, but you do not need more than 12 minutes of outputted video in order to understand what's happening in that learning experience. It's just too much to watch. And as you as the coach, are you really going to watch an hour of video for every teacher? Absolutely not. Impossible. Just don't even pretend like you are. Nobody wants to do it. You're not going to do it. You're not a hero. Don't pretend to be a hero in that sense. Be a hero in other ways. Okay. Then the teachers capture that new video, and we're going to talk through a specific example in a minute. Have them bucket out 1.5x the time to analyze that new video, right? They're not just watching it. If they capture 10 minutes, they need to budget at least 15 minutes. And then here, for you as the coach, if you're asking each teacher to capture 10 minutes, then you need to budget at least 20 minutes to analyze those videos, provide feedback, and really help the teachers move forward. Now, I want to stress, you do not have to live discuss these videos. I know that feels controversial. I know that feels uncomfortable. I know that seems to push against the idea that the relationship between the coach and the teacher is about being together in person. Um, I have lots of examples of how that doesn't have to be true. I know of entire coaching networks where the coaches and the teachers are fully virtual, and we've supported that in the past. I think there is definitely an absolutely value in spending time talking and discussing. It is a very valuable way of learning. But my point is that you don't have to spend your time live watching the videos. Maybe I should have said live watch instead of live discuss in this slide. Um, it's not necessarily the most effective use of time, and especially if you have tools like Edthena to analyze those videos, you don't need to actually do the analysis in real time together. You can spend your time together talking about the implications of what you're seeing and what you're noticing together. All right, so let's work through an example together so that you can start to bring this from the kind of, okay, good idea phase into the, aha, I see what that means for me. So I just tried to put together some ideas here of ways that you might be setting goals around what the online teaching is going to look like. So 3 different ideas. Teachers should host live group discussions once per week. Teachers should pre-record intro to new material videos as screencasts. That would be flipped learning. Teachers should set up and manage group work that is online and collaborative. That might be, group projects in a collaborative document editing software like Google Docs. So for our purposes today, we're going to dive into the idea of teachers should host live group discussions once per week, mainly because I find this absolutely fascinating to consider. I've been seeing lots of great examples already popping up from my educator friends and Facebook feed and other social media. So, this one seems, if you've got video conferencing software, exciting and very different from what we've experienced before, and really a lot of opportunity to help support and ensure that it's high quality learning. So should we just go with teacher should host a live a group discussion? No, 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 no. Like that's not specific enough. That's like saying teacher should teach math every day for 55 minutes. So what does it look like? How are you teaching math, right? Okay, so here are some examples of how I would work to break this down. And again, I can't necessarily answer these for you in this session. My goal here is to show you how to break these down and break these new contexts down in ways that you're familiar into bite-sized chunks. So ways that I was thinking about this. What does online discussion look like? Is it students in a grid view of videos? Is it a chat room? I don't know. What kinds of questions should the teachers be asking? And how will the teachers determine whether this online discussion was successful? So for the purposes of today, I'm going to dive into what types of questions should the teachers be asking. I like this one in particular to focus on because it's a little less on the um, technical support end of the spectrum, which I know as coaches, you're probably going to be doing a lot of that coming up, like how do I use program X and program Y? But my goal is to have us focus on the learning itself and the learning episodes and the way that teachers are facilitating learning. And I think that teachers are very important to the process of learning. And one of the ways they help facilitate that with students is by asking high quality questions. In fact, this is the number one high leverage practice on that high leverage practice list, which is leading group discussions. So um, there we go. So from a planning perspective, you will need to select a video example of this targeted skill. Well, where in the world are you going to get that video example? The truth is, I have no idea where you're going to get that video example. I don't know of any video examples of what facilitating questions during an online group discussion looks like. Sorry. But I'm here to, tell you the truth that those examples don't exist, but it doesn't change the fact that your teachers need an example. So you're going to have to create it. I would suggest you should model teach a group discussion with other teachers or other coaches and illustrate the types of practice that you're hoping that your own teachers will use. These are probably the same or similar strategies to questioning that you've already been working on. I think the difference is making it real and bringing it to life that, hey, it's that thing we were talking about before. It's just now in this online context. Make it real, make it concrete by making a video of it. Okay, then you're going to design that facilitated analysis. What are your guiding questions to help the teachers analyze and break down this video as they're watching it? If you're needing some ways to guide teachers on how to interact with video evidence, I would point you to the 5 focusing techniques from the book. There's a blog post with those 5 focusing techniques fully explained in pretty good amount of detail. If you go to blog.edthena.com/5, that will take you right there. And then lastly, you're going to need to share those videos with the teachers. Of course, I would suggest Edthena. If you're needing tools to do that, reach out. We are here to support schools and districts during this time of need. All right, from the execution perspective, it's what we were talking about before, so I haven't changed any of the language on this particular slide. You would basically take those materials, that recorded video, share with your teachers, set an expectation of when they should analyze, when they should implement, when they should get it back to you with their self-reflection, and when you will get it back to them, right? And take this into account. If you're working with 20 teachers, you're not going to do this in a 24-hour turnaround for everybody. Maybe you need 48-hour turnaround, and maybe they need, several days to implement, right? Just be realistic that this is going to take time. There's a lot on people's plates. And for the same reason why everybody's still coming to work, professional learning is still important. We still need to prioritize it. Okay, so I hope that gives you a sense of at least a place to get started. Um, you know, Thank you for the work that you do. Thank your teachers for the work that they continue to do. There's a lot of conversation out there about how we have this the essential workers in the healthcare system still showing up to work, and I think I don't think it's overlooked because there are so many kids at home right now, but the educators are in that same class of essential workers, you included, and I think acknowledging that this is hard, this is difficult, this is uncomfortable, but we're going to rise to this moment. And you're already setting aside the time and asking the questions, how can I be better? Um, to me, I think that is a great first step. So good luck. I wish I had all the answers for you. Um, but hopefully these are some of the answers for you. If you're interested in getting copies of the slides as well as a PDF of how to implement that skill building sequence, head to bit.ly/simplycoaching. You'll enter your name and your email, and it will automatically email you back a PDF file. All right, well, thank you so much, and I hope this was helpful, and good luck. And yeah, wash your hands, stay safe.